Hi everyone, welcome back to Summer Nutrition Club. We are going to complete our second nutrition superhero mission today, so make sure you have your mission 2 guide printed out or following along online. You can go ahead and turn to page 2 of your mission guide and you will see My Plate again. Today we are going to meet 2 more superhero food groups, Powerful Protein and Glorious Grains. As you can see on My Plate, grains and protein are going to make up the other half of your plate at mealtimes. We are going to start by learning more about the superpowers powerful protein gives our body. Protein is used to build muscles or other parts of your body. When you eat a food with protein, your stomach breaks down the protein into little blocks, and these little blocks are used to build something new in your body, like muscles or skin. Powerful protein keeps us healthy and strong. There are many different options of protein that you can choose from, and we are going to talk about them today. Some protein comes from plants, and some protein comes from animals. Protein that comes from animals includes beef, pork, poultry, fish, and seafood. Protein that comes from cows is called beef. This includes foods like hamburger meat, taco meat, meatballs, and steak. They are all beef and come from cows. Protein that comes from a pig is called pork. This includes foods like sausage, ham, bacon, and pork chops. They are all pork and come from pigs. Poultry refers to protein that comes from birds, like chicken and turkeys. This includes foods like chicken nuggets, chicken breast, or the turkey that you might eat on a sandwich. And lastly, fish and seafood refers to protein that comes from either the sea or other bodies of water. This includes foods like fish, shrimp, crab, tuna, and lobster. Now, turn to page 3 of your mission guide. Draw the line from each animal in the middle to the animal protein group that the protein comes from. Pause the video, and once you are done, we will go over the correct answers. Next, we are going to talk about plant proteins. If you look at page 4 of your mission guide, you will see pictures of different types of plant proteins. Proteins that come from plants include soy, nuts, seeds, and legumes. Legumes includes beans, peas, and lentils. Have you ever heard of tofu? Tofu is a plant-based protein that comes from soybeans. Now we are going to talk about the other superhero food group, glorious grains. The superpower that grains give your body is energy. Your body uses energy for everything you do, like running, jumping, talking, breathing, and even blinking. So glorious grains is a really important superhero food group. Grains include foods like rice, pasta, bread, cereal, bagels, and oats. There are 2 different kinds of grains that you can find in foods: whole grains and refined grains. To learn the difference between whole grains and refined grains, we are going to use wheat as an example. Wheat grows in really large fields that look like this. One wheat plant is called a stalk of wheat, and it looks like this. At the top of one stalk of wheat, you can see these little things that are called kernels. Kernels are what are used to make grain products like bread. There are 3 different parts of a grain, and each part of a grain gives your body different superpowers. If you look at page 5 of your mission guide, you will see an example of the different parts of a grain. The outside of a grain is called the bran. The bran has fiber that helps keep you full. The white part on the inside of the grain is called the endosperm. This is the part of the grain that gives your body energy. The yellow part inside of the grain is called the germ. The germ is full of B vitamins that help your body turn the food you eat into energy. All of these parts together make up a whole grain. However, sometimes the bran and the germ of a grain are removed, and this is called a refined grain. Refined grains still give your body energy, but they are missing the fiber and B vitamins that whole grains have. So you want to make sure that at least half of the grains you eat in a day are whole grains, so that you give your body all of the grain superpowers. There are different ways that you can tell if a food item has whole grains. If you look at the bottom of page 5 on your mission guide, you will see some different whole grain labels. If you see the yellow whole grain label, that means a food product has whole grains. A food product might also say 100% whole grain or whole wheat, and that means it has whole grains as well. For our second superhero mission, turn to page 6 of your mission guide, and you are going to guess the grain. For this mission, you are going to see 2 different food products. One of them is a refined grain, and one of them is a whole grain, and it's your job to guess which one. I'm going to walk you through the first food so that you know what to do. First up, we have noodles. If you think the noodle above number 1 is a whole grain noodle, circle the picture of the whole grain next to the number 1. If you think it is a refined grain, circle the picture of the refined grain. If you think the noodle above number 2 is a whole grain noodle, circle the picture of the whole grain. If you think it is a refined grain noodle, circle the picture of the refined grain. If you thought the noodle above the number 1 was the whole grain noodle, you were correct. This is what a whole grain box of pasta may look like. You can see that it says whole grain at the top. The noodle above the number 2 was the refined grain noodle. This is what a refined grain box of pasta may look like, and you can see it does not say whole grain on the box. Now you are going to do the same thing for bread and for goldfish. Pause this video while you look at the different products and decide which one is the whole grain version of the food and which one is the refined grain version of the food. Once you are done, we will go over the correct answers. For the bread, the piece of bread above the number 2 was the whole grain bread. Whole grain bread packages may either say whole wheat or whole grain. The piece of bread above the number 1 was the refined grain bread. Packages of refined grain bread may say white bread. And lastly, for the goldfish above the number 1 was the whole grain goldfish. The package for whole grain goldfish will say whole grain, and the goldfish above the number 2 was the refined grain goldfish. Great job completing your second Summer Nutrition Club superhero mission. Don't forget that protein can come from both plants and animals, and to make sure that half of the grains you're eating throughout the day are whole grains. I'll see you next time for our last superhero mission.